Good afternoon. And as we just come here and celebrate the Resurrection Sunday, just imagine and put ourselves in the position of the people in that time, that whole culture that was there during the resurrection, those 40 days after Jesus rose. I mean, just when I imagine myself, if I put myself, just seeing the resurrection must have been amazing. Not just seeing the empty tomb, walking and going to an empty tomb, but actually meeting with Jesus sometime in those 40 days after he rose again. I mean, he'd appear personally to people, like in the Emmaus Road, or he would appear to a dozen people in a room who just pop out, and then you see him. So just imagine if you're there, and he just pops out. And this guy that you know who died just pops out and in the middle of the room. And even at one point, he showed himself to a crowd of 500 people. So when I just imagine the whole, I guess, the culture that's going on there, imagine we're just going about our day, and people that we know, hundreds of people, are saying, wow, this guy Jesus rose again, and I actually saw him. He met with me personally. And maybe you knew Jesus, maybe you knew him in his lifetime, and he was there. But what if, because this happened, in this span of time, there were moments where Jesus revealed himself to some people, but not yet to other people. Like, he revealed himself to people that you know, friends, and then you're like, oh, you saw Jesus? I haven't seen him. Where is he? I mean, in fact, one part in Matthew 28, verse 17, said that they worshiped Jesus, but some doubted. And in the book of John, we know most notably of a case where there's Thomas, who doubted. Thomas, all his friends were saying, we saw Jesus, we know Jesus, he's alive, we've seen him. And Thomas doesn't know. But at the same time, I could imagine there's other types of people there who they hear that Jesus rose, and they would believe, even without having seen Jesus himself. So let's go to the Thomas example. When Jesus appeared to Thomas, and he said these words, you believe because you've seen me. And then he says this, blessed are those that have not seen and have believed. So that's John chapter 20, verse 29. And you can keep that, on there. Blessed are those that have not seen and have believed. In John chapter 20, verse 29. So what did Jesus mean when he said this? And for the remainder of this devotional, we'll pause at this and try to extract what Jesus would mean by this. Blessed are those who have not seen and still have believed. So when you are asked to trust, when someone asks you for your trust, you are allowed to give it or withhold it. It's senseless to say that you trust if you are already given demonstrative certainty. There would be no room for trust if demonstration was already given. See, when demonstration is given, once that moment where Jesus appears, that demonstration is given, all that is left is simply the sort of relation which we had beforehand, from either having trusted or having not trusted before it was given. So, saying that blessed are those who have not seen and have believed has nothing to do with our original intellectual assent to whether we believe the Christian propositions. It's not addressed to some intellectual person today or to some philosopher trying to figure out whether God exists or not. When Jesus said those words, he was talking to a man that he knew. A man who actually walked with Jesus. He had a long acquaintance with that man. And he had evidence that Jesus could do miracles, and he could do very odd things. And yet, when he was asking, when this moment came for him to trust that Jesus was alive, this one more moment where all his friends were saying it, that Jesus is alive, it was really hard for him to believe it. It's not a rebuke to skepticism in like a philosophical, intellectual way, but to the quality of being suspicious. When Jesus says, "Blessed are those who have not seen and have believed," it in effect says, you should have known me better. And when we think about this, there are cases between people, in our relationships, between man and man, where we should all, in our own different way, bless those who have believed us, or who have not seen and yet still believed. Because our relationship with those people who trust us only after we're proven innocent cannot be the same as our relationship to people who have trusted us all along before we even proved our innocence. So, let's think about this. When someone asks you for your trust, what do you do? And when God asks you for your trust, how do you respond?